All right. Oh my gosh. Hi, everyone. It's been like a week since I read more of this, so now I'm going to binge read and probably finish this book right now because I should. And it's super good. This is for Blue. Blue, this is chapter 13, Searching for Dragons. They told Telemaine and Jack the whole story over dinner and discussed it late into the night. Telemaine was intrigued by their description of Kazul's imprisonment. You say these wizards have an enchantment capable of confining a dragon, he said eagerly. Are you sure? That's certainly what it looked like, Simeon said, pouring herself a cup of hot chocolate. The stew and the dinner dishes had long since been cleared away and were piled in the bucket of soapy water waiting for someone to have the time and the inclination to wash them. Mendelbar wondered idly whether a bucket of soapy water plus lemon juice, plus dishes, would be as good for melting a wizard as one without dishes, and what effect the dishes would have on the process. Being melted was probably not very comfortable, but being melted while cups and plates and forks were falling in her head was likely to be even less so. This is being discussed. I knew I was right to join you, Telemaine said, smiling. I might not have heard about this enchantment at all if I hadn't. It sounds like a simple modulation of the upper frequencies of a standard reptilian restraint spell, but on an enormously increased scale. I wonder where they're getting their power. I don't care how they did it, Serene snapped. I care about getting Gazul out of it as soon as possible. A trivial detail once the construction of the spell is properly understood, Telemaine said confidently. Trivial, Middenbar said. Aren't you forgetting about the wizards? I don't think they'll just let us walk in and take their spell apart. And goodness knows what they'll do to Kazul in the meantime, Cimmerian muttered. Nonsense, Telemaine said. I comprehend your concern, but it is highly unlikely that this episode will prove more than a minor inconvenience so far as your dragon friend is concerned. Cimmerian did not look convinced, so Telemaine launched into a lecture on the political implications of the situation. The main point of which was that it would be stupid for the Society of Wizards to hurt Kazul and that wizards were not stupid. I don't know. I don't know about that. Privately, Menbar thought it had been stupid of the wizards to kidnap Kazul in the first place, but saying so would not reassure Cimmerian, so he kept quiet. After a while, Telemaine finished his lecture. He did not wait for Cimmerian to respond, but turned at once to Mendenbar and asked about his sword. Like Cimmerian, the magician could feel the sword spilling magic, like a beacon on a mountaintop, and he was amazed and completely fascinated to learn that Mendenbar noticed nothing unusual. I don't understand why I didn't spot it at once, Telemaine said, shaking his head over his cup of chocolate, which looked to Mendenbar as if it had gone cold during his long speech about the relative intelligence of wizards. You mean when you met us, Cimmerian said? Mendenbar's sword wasn't spraying magic all over right then. He just used up most of it on the rock snakes. It seems to recover very quickly, Telemaine said, with a sidelong look at the sword. Is it always like this? How should I know? Mendenbar said, running a hand through his hair in frustration. I can't tell when it's doing it, much less when it isn't. Yes, you said that before. Telemaine sipped at his chocolate, staring absently into space. I shall have to think about this for a while, he said at last, as though making a profound announcement. It's a pity you haven't time to visit my tower for a few tests. Absolutely not, Mendenbar interrupted. We have to rescue Kazul from the wizards, Cimmerian put in more quickly, before this business turns into more than a minor inconvenience. Before those wizards decide she's too much trouble to keep around and feed her some dragon's bane. Telemaine considered this for a moment. An excellent idea, he said, at last with evident sincerity. He's strange, and I can't put my finger on why he's bothering me. Anyway, Medembar and Cimmerian stared at him. If the Society of Wizards poisoned the King of the Dragons, there's certain to be a war, Telemaine explained. Wars are very distracting. That's an understatement. I don't like being distracted. It interferes with my work. He's kind of a narcissist. Everything revolves around him. So it would be a very good thing if we made sure there was no war. I'm so glad you think so, Cimmerian said. Her voice sounded a little strange. The discussion continued for a little longer, but it was getting late and everyone was tired. Finally, Jack suggested they go to bed. It's all very well for you adventurous types to sit around jawing until past midnight, but some people have work to do in the morning, he said pointedly. I am not an adventurous type, Telemaine said with dignity. I am in research. Fine, Jack said. So go research my second best bed. I love that line. I want to go research naps. You and the king here take the room on the right. Princess Cimmerian gets the one on the left, and I get to bunk under the kitchen. Good night, everybody. Oh, I guess they're not going to be there, destroying my ship. That settled things for the evening, but the conference continued the next morning over a breakfast of flapjacks and honey. It seems very likely to me that you were correct about Kazul's location, Telemaine said. She's probably being held somewhere in the Enchanted Forest. Our first task, therefore, must be to find her. I also just realized I didn't read the name of this chapter, which is in which they return to the Enchanted Forest at last. And find something? Who knows? Our first task is to get back into the enchanted forest, Mendenbar corrected. I don't even know which direction it's in anymore. It's over that way, Jack said, waving at the large mountain in the back of the house. Not far if you're flying, but a long way to walk. You have to go around, you see. Now, I've got a nice broomstick that'll get you there in a jiffy. It's extra long, so it'll seat all three of you very comfortably, and it's hardly been used at all. No, thank you, Telemaine said firmly. Broomsticks are only reliable transportation for witches. We will manage this ourselves. Pass the flapjacks, please. Here, said Cimmerian, handing him the plate. Do you mean that you were going to take us to the enchanted forest the same way you brought us here? I thought it would actually be harder than that. Actually, oh my god, it's raining so hard. Actually, it is, Telemaine said. The enchanted forest is unique, magically speaking, and therefore the interface between the forest and the rest of the world is equally unique. Penetrating that interface requires a specific application. What's that mean when it's at home, said Jack. You need a special spell to get into the enchanted forest because it's different from everywhere else, Mendenbar translated. Telemaine looked irritated. That's what I just said. That's okay, well, never. Telemaine. Okay. Is that why Mendenbar's spell dropped us into the ravine with the rock snakes instead of in the forest? Cimmerian asked. Possibly. Telemaine frowned. It seems unlikely, however. Mendenbar's magic is of the same variety as that of the forest. It should have worked perfectly well, assuming it worked at all. Well, why didn't it? Mendenbar asked crossly. He was getting tired of puzzles, especially puzzles connected with his sword, his magic, and his forest. I'm afraid I can't answer that from your description, Telemaine replied, his frown deepening. I can think of a half-dozen things that might have gone wrong, but without seeing it myself, I don't know which of them it was. So do it again and watch it this time, Jack said. Hand me the honey, would you, your majesty? Mendenbar picked up the honey pot, which was shaped like a fat purple bear. Purple? Oh. Resisting the urge to throw it at Jack's head, he handed it over and said mildly, I don't think I like the idea of repeating the spell. Last time it knocked me out for 4 hours, and I'm not willing to do that again just so Telemaine can find out why. Oh, that's easy enough to fix, Telemaine said. A few wards properly set, and there won't be any backlash worth worrying about. How much backlash does it take before you worry about it? Cimmerian asked, sounding dubious about the whole idea. A 3-day headache, Jack put in before Telemaine could answer, and that's only because if his head hurts, he has trouble thinking about the wherefore of the what's-it. That is a serious exaggeration, Telemaine said stiffly, and I don't anticipate that this experiment will result in any kind of prolonged effect, particularly if I set wards first. I have some idea of what to expect, you see, so I can customize the shielding spells to correspond to the specific variety of backlash. It sounds good, Cimmerian said. I think. What happens if it doesn't work? Telemaine began a long... God, of course he did. A long, involved, and somewhat indignant explanation of why his shielding spells could not fail to work. Oh, now they're definitely going to fail, aren't they? Mendenbar listened with only part of his mind. The rest was busy thinking about Telemaine's suggestion. It looked to him as if the only way they were likely to get back into the enchanted forest was by means of his own magic. Telemaine hadn't actually said he could do it himself, or he couldn't do it himself, rather. But Mendenbar was fairly sure that was what he had meant, and from the way Jack talked, walking would take more time than they had to spare. Even if it took Telemaine 2 tries, or 3, to figure out what had gone wrong with Mendenbar's transportation spell, it would still be much faster than walking. Of course, they could always rent some of Jack's wares, but after their experiences with the magic carpet, Mendenbar was not at all happy with the idea. Repeating that spell would be a chance to find out more about the sword, too. His adventures since leaving the enchanted forest had made Mendenbar see just how little he really knew about his magic, and the sword seemed like a good place to start finding things start finding things out. The only question was, could the wards actually keep the transportation spell from knocking him head over heels again? Telemaine, how sure of these shielding spells are you? Mendenbar asked as soon as there was a lull in the conversation. Telemaine looked at him. Very sure indeed. I have just spent no little time and breath telling Princess Cimmerian here exactly how sure that is. Maybe you should just, abbreviate it, the conversation. Why I'm sure and how likely it is that I am wrong. Obviously, you have not been attending. Do you wish me to repeat the entire explanation? No, please don't. No, of course not, Mendenbar said hastily. I'm sorry I wasn't listening, but I had to think for a minute. And, said Cimmerian, and I think we should do it. As long as Telemaine is sure he can keep me from being knocked out again, that is. I am, Telemaine said, sounding faintly put out. I have been telling you that all morning. Good, said Jack. I like to have things settled. You sure you don't want a pair of 7-league boots for backup? There are 3 of us, and you only have 1 pair of boots, Cimmerian pointed out. They finished breakfast quickly and helped Jack clear up. Telemaine had some things to discuss with Jack, so Mendenbar and Cimmerian went outside to give them a chance to talk alone. Mendenbar noticed that the worry line between Cimmerian eyebrows was back. What's the matter? He asked. Are you sure about this? Simrine said. Doing the transportation spell, I mean, after what happened before, I'll be more careful this time, Mendenbar said, and Telemane's words should help. Between the two of us, it ought to be all right. Simrine did not look convinced. You're still taking a big chance. There are other ways to get into the Enchanted Forest. Not in a hurry, they aren't, Mendenbar said, and once we get back, we still have to find Kazul. We can't afford to waste any more time. I know, Simrine chewed on her lower lip, frowning. Look, you're the king of the Enchanted Forest. You shouldn't be taking chances like this just to help me out. I like helping you out, Mendenbar said. But it's not just that. It's my job to take care of the Enchanted Forest. If the wizards have Kazul trapped somewhere in my kingdom, it's my responsibility. You're not responsible for what the Society of Wizards does. No, but when it involves the forest, it involves me too, and I have to try to put it straight. No wonder you looked so tired when you showed up at Kazul's cave, Simri muttered. Mendenbar. The door of the house slammed. Telemane came hurrying down the steps, carrying the wizard's staff. I'm sorry I kept you waiting, the magician said. Are you ready to start? Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Yes, said Mendenbar. You aren't bringing that along, are you? Simrine demanded, eyeing the staff with disfavor. Of course I'm bringing it along, Telemane said. I've told you how long I've been looking for one. If I leave it with Jack, odds are he'll sell it to somebody before the day is out. He wouldn't be able to help it. Here, hold this for a minute while I set up the wards. With visible reluctance, Simrine took the wizard's staff. She grimaced as her fingers touched it, as if it felt slimy and unpleasant. At the same time, Mendenbar laid a hand on his sword and pushed a tendril of magic at the staff to see whether there were any lingering spells, but he did not sense anything. Raising a hand, Telemane began to mutter rapidly. Mendenbar watched with interest as the magician worked, calling a magical power and shaping it into a loose net that surrounded all three of them. There, Telemane said at last. That should do it. I lost my place. He repossessed the staff from Simrine and looked at Mendenbar. Whenever you're ready. Mendenbar studied the net uncertainly. Is that all there is to it? Should I aim through one of the holes or through one of the threads? Holes? Telemane said. Threads? What are you talking about? This net of yours, Mendenbar said. The warding spell. Does it matter where I aim? You could see the warding spell? Telemane looked and sounded considerably startled by the very idea. It's not seeing exactly, Mendenbar said, but I can tell where it is and how it's put together. Fascinating, Telemane said. Have you always been able to do that? No, it comes with being king of the Enchanted Forest. Does it? Telemane's expression was all eager interest. Can you do it for any spell? Here, let me try a listening spell, and you can see if you can spot it. I thought we were supposed to be trying to get into the Enchanted Forest, Simrine put in pointedly. Can't you wait an experiment after we rescue Kazul? Of course, Telemane said. Do forgive me. I sometimes get carried away. Sometimes? You've gotten carried away like 10 times in this chapter. That's an exaggeration. Not even that number. He nodded apologetically, but Mendenbar thought he sounded disappointed. About this net, Mendenbar reminded him. Oh, yes, you wanted to know about aiming. Telemane considered for a moment. It shouldn't make the least bit of difference. Good, said Mendenbar. He drew his sword and both Telemane and Simrine jumped. Mendenbar supposed the sword must be leaking again. He pushed careful little dabs of power through the sword to mark Telemane and Simrine to be sure that they would come along with him. Then he raised the sword and pointed toward the mountain where Jack had said the Enchanted Forest lay. I think I'll try to take us straight to the palace, he said, and began forming the picture in his mind. No, Telemane interrupted. Do it exactly the way you did before. That's the whole point of this exercise. I thought the point was to get to the Enchanted Forest, Simrine muttered. She's just done with this. She's so done with this. I love it. Mendenbar shrugged. The castle would be a better place from which to try and locate Kazul, since it was at the center, near the center of the Enchanted Forest. But once they were in the forest, getting to the castle would be no trouble. Telemane wanted to watch an exact duplication of the transportation spell that had dumped them in the ravine. There was no reason not to let him. Releasing his image of the palace, Mendenbar substituted a mental picture of the green glass pool. He took his time over the image, painstakingly remembering every detail of the rocks and trees and water. When the picture was as clear as he could make it, he took a deep breath, gave the power of the sword a slow, twisting pull. The mountains and the trees in Jack's queer little house faded to gray ghosts, then melted into mist and were gone. An instant later, the mist vanished. They were standing at the edge of the green glass pool. Oh, he did it! Absolutely fascinating, Telemane said. That is without a doubt the neatest transportation spell I have ever had the pleasure of utilizing. But I thought you said you had some trouble with it. He did, last time, Simrine said. Well, you better not put your sword away then, Telemane said. I can't tell what the problem was until I see it. You'll just have to do this spell again. But they're there. Why do I need to do it again? Okay, I'm going to make another video and then keep reading.